Welcome back, Kaiju fans. Today we're going to be talking about how Adam Wingard had some things to say about his upcoming project, Godzilla vs. Kong, at this year's San Diego Comic-Con. So, to start off, he is excited about the process of making the movie right now, even though it's so early on. So he says it's been a pleasure already in the first stages of it, having an excuse to go back and watch 30 Godzilla movies and justifying it to yourself. For me, it's all about taking on the series to the next level. It's easy to demonize Godzilla on one hand, but I have a lot of emotional attachment to both monsters. The latter comment will undoubtedly perpetuate conversation among fans about whether or not Godzilla will take on an antagonist role in the upcoming slugfest. Wingard continued to speak about working on such a big-scale project with Birth Movie's death. And he said, when you're doing anything that involves a lot of money, it should be not an us versus them kind of thing. And as soon as you start treating it that way, it becomes that way. But as long as you're open to ideas when they come, and sometimes they're good, and sometimes you have to push back, it's just about being able to communicate. On Death Note, which I had many producers and a lot of oversight on it, I felt like I was 100% able to make the movie I wanted to make. His comments loosely addressed the partnership between producers and directors, a popular topic after the creative breakdown seen over the Han Solo movie. He continued speaking about whether the writing process and how he will soon hand the story revisions over to screenwriter Terry Rossio. Terry ran the writer's room, so he's the personification of it. And everything we're working on is first and foremost based on the outline they created there. We're going in a very great detail through all the characters, the arcs they have, and how they relate to one another, and most importantly, how they relate to the monsters, and how the monsters relate to them or reflect them. We're also going beat by beat on the outline because I have things that I wanted to add, so once again it's a discussion and about feeling about how to make it as strong as possible, so that when Terry goes to write the screenplay he has a definitive breakdown of what to include. It appears the film has its basic premise nailed down. What comes now is the actual screenwriting process of the revised story. Wingard also claims that he may visit the Godzilla King of the Monsters set to get a feel for how the post-2014 Monsterverse, and it went on to address Kong's size to IGN. And he said, they gave us a good out in Kong when they mentioned that Kong is still growing, but that'll be a challenge we have to deal with, and we're very aware of that issue. So it sounds like even Adam is skeptical on how to justify Kong growing to the size of Godzilla, calling it a issue. So I'm curious to see as whether or not they'll actually bump Kong all the way up to Godzilla size, or keep him still pretty small comparatively, because Kong's about 1/3 the size of Godzilla right now. That's quite a bit to grow. So I'm really curious to see how he's gonna handle the situation, seeming so doubtful of it himself, because that's a substantial amount that Kong has to grow. So I'm going to assume that they aren't going to make Kong the same size as Godzilla. Kong will be similar sized, but not... He won't be as big as Godzilla. He's going to be smaller. It's going to be difficult for them to think of an explanation, because even Kong's parents' bones on Skull Island, if they're fully grown Kong species, and they were only that big, then why? There's no way that Kong could possibly grow bigger than them unless he's some kind of mutant freak, which then opens the door for even more storyline stretching and bullshit justification of whether or not they can actually pull this off, because Kong's not in a different environment. He's not going to grow differently than what the rest of his species did just because he's the only one. That wouldn't make any sense. But seems like Adam's pretty excited for the storylines so far, and he wants to keep close with all of the producers to make sure that there are no issues, which is always good. And it seems to be that things are going pretty smooth right now. So that's pretty good, and it's good that he's going to go potentially visit Godzilla 2 and make sure that everything is incorporated correctly there. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Hopefully we get some more Godzilla news out of Comic-Con this year. It's still early on, second day. But that's it. I will catch you all in the next one.